But what if you have images in your slides? Well, let's talk about that. There's 3 ways to translate an image. Number 1, you can pull the text out and translate just that. Number 2, you can translate the image without modifiable text, so it's just a brand new translated image. And number 3, you can translate the image with modifiable text, so you can actually edit and manipulate that text that's been translated. So let's go through each one, starting with pulling the text out and translating just that. I simply have to hit the Translate Image Text toggle with the slide or the image selected and hit Translate. And what that's going to do is pull the text out and give me the translation, leaving the image there and letting me do whatever I want with the text, as you can see here. Now, if I move this text, you're going to see the image is still back there, but now I can manipulate this text or do whatever I want with it. This is helpful for slides that have images that are just plain text that you just need to pull the text out and translate, where the image is not so important to the meaning of the slide. But what if you want to actually translate the image itself? Well, you can do that with modifiable text if you turn on the Translate Image toggle and leave the With Editable Text toggle on. When you turn this toggle on, automatically both of them will be on. And again, if you hit the slide or hit the image and hit Translate, now you're going to see a translated image with modifiable text. Okay, now you can see the image has been translated and the text is modifiable. So I can bold it, I can grow it, I can change the font, I can do whatever I'd like with it. Now if I delete the text, you'll see the image is still there, but the text has been erased, and behind this window you're going to see the original image is still there. So if you ever want to revert back, you can always revert back by just deleting the translated image. But what if you just want to translate the image without modifiable text? Well, if you turn off With Editable Text and select the image and hit Translate, now you're going to see this actually uses a different AI model to translate the image. So if you don't get a good performance using the first method with editable text, you can remove With Editable Text and try again to see the result that you get. Okay, now you can see the image again has been translated, and you can see that the text is not modifiable, can't do anything with it, and you can also see the text is now in black font and the fonts are standardized. You can also see there's a little bit of an error in the cat's face because it detected the cat's mouth as a character and tried to translate that as well. So that's one of the things that you want to keep in mind is as you're translating images, it's not typically a one-size-fits-all solution where you just hit a few toggles and translate everything. You typically want to go image by image and try both with editable text and without editable text to see which model your image translates best with. The thing to keep in mind without the editable text toggle on is that fonts will always be standardized to black font and in the same font. So you can't modify them. So that's why we typically recommend you use the With Editable Text toggle on. Now, let me show you a scenario where that might not work so well. Here, you have a complicated image. So if I turn off With Editable Text and translate this one, you're going to see the results are much better because this is a very complicated image with lots of colors and text, and it's tightly cramped together. When you turn on the Editable Text toggle, during the erase process of the original text, sometimes it blurs lines, which is not useful for an image like this. But if you just do Translate Image without the editable text, you're going to see that a lot of the details here are preserved. Now let me show you if we did it with editable text. Okay, now you can see the translation is complete, but now we have a lot of blurring in here and a lot of editable text that is hard to manage. So if I wanted to select everything and modify all these together, I could do that, but it just gets more complicated than it needs to be. So for this type of image, we typically recommend just translating the image without the modifiable text. So let me just get rid of that. And we are back to the original image. Now let me give you a little bit of a quiz. For an image like this, which is a screenshot of our sister product, Automagical Translate, which translates any file in your Google Drive. If you're interested, there's a link in the description section below. You can check it out. But for an image like this, you typically want to just stick with the Translate Image toggle on and with editable text off. Because again, this is a pretty complicated image with a lot of stuff going on. You don't need to modify all that text. Just leave this one on. Now here we have a background image. So if I try to select anything on this slide, I can't select it because this image has been set in the background. What I can do is I can go to Options and turn on Translate Background Images. Now we can actually translate that background image. Still, same two options exist, Translate Image and Translate Image with editable text. So for this one, because it's a pretty simple image, I'm going to turn on the editable text function, select the slide, and hit Translate. And you're going to see that it replaces the background image with a translated background image with text that is modifiable because I've turned that toggle on, so I can manipulate that text however I please. This is useful if you buy assets from third-party marketplaces or from publishers that sort of lock everything into a background image as text and you can't manipulate it or move it around. This works really well for that. Now you can see here, the text is modifiable, so I can just grow it right back to how it should have been before.